hypothetical fight against Islam, how do you see that fight going? If it goes to the ground, do you feel confident that you could out-grapple him, or would you try to keep it standing? And
my mindset is always the same. I'm always looking to achieve things that no one could. So someone could submit him, I will be the first one to submit him. And
any specific submission?
Who do you think should be next for Ilia?
Who should be next for Ilia? 55 has always been so cloudy at the top. Maybe Gaethje. I think him going to 170 to fight Islam, if Islam wins, is a stretch, you know. Islam's big, man. I've never seen Ilia in person, but he seems smaller. I know, obviously, he can knock anyone out. I do think if they fight, Ilia can knock anybody out from 45 to 170.
You know those rare flashes when a sport doesn't just serve a headline, it lights a fuse? That was Ilia Topuria and Islam Makhachev at the airport. No octagon, no walkout music, just two champions refusing to soften their gaze. The clip moved like electricity through the fan base, and Joe Rogan reacted exactly how you'd expect, like a man who knows when a moment isn't noise, but foreshadowing. One look, a few clipped words, and suddenly the next blockbuster felt less like hype and more like a calendar appointment waiting for ink. Topuria's rise has been a sprint with receipts, a fresh belt over his shoulder, knockouts stacked behind him, and a rhythm that makes even his boldest promises hard to dismiss. He talks like a man trying to break limits, not manage them. Every stare down seems to energize him. Ask who's next, and he doesn't blink. He leans forward. He has said straight up that if the path to immortality runs through Islam, he'll walk it, and he believes he can be the first to make the unbeatable look beatable on the ground as well as on the feet. When Ilia says it, you don't hear posturing, you hear intent. Across from that is Islam, the quiet storm you don't hear until you're already under it. His resume is stitched with names that belong in museums, and his game is a slow, suffocating tide. He doesn't build drama, he breaks wills. Tell him to defend and he nods. Tell him to climb and he nods. Put a microphone in front of him and he gives you just enough to know he isn't gambling. He's calculating. When Ilia stepped into his lane, Islam's eyes didn't waver, and that's when every fan started asking the real questions. If it hits the mat, can Ilia swim in that deep water? And if it stays standing, can Islam deny the thunder? Rogan didn't hedge. He basically said, make it. Not after 3 more defenses, not after a committee debate that drags into next year. Now he called it the kind of collision that sucks oxygen out of an arena before the clock even starts. Pound for pound lists will argue forever, but this fight is simpler than a spreadsheet. It is Ilia's dynamite against Islam's anvil, speed against structure, swagger against serenity. The uncertainty is the hook, and both sides have a believable path. That unknown is oxygen, and it travels. Meanwhile, the chorus grew. Arman Tarukian popped up from Los Angeles and pushed hard on the gas, telling Ilia to stop avoiding the hard route and either defend or hand it over. Healthy, training, ready, he says he'll take September, he'll take October. He'll even take a tune-up if someone like Dan Hooker wants to dance. The memes get laughs, but the message underneath is pressure. Acknowledge the #1 problem or brace for louder calls. He swears the division is waiting on a decision, not an excuse, and he's happy to be the reminder on everyone's timeline. Out in California, Khamzat Chimaev's arrival had its own soundtrack, Visas. Hurdles in the rear view, he stepped into the sun and immediately asked Sean Strickland if the tough talk still sounded tough with an ocean no longer between them. Suspension or not, the conversation never really cooled. Khamzat's schedule says title business, but his ambition says multi-division chaos. He keeps one eye on gold, the other on legacy math, and he isn't shy about drawing lines from a single win to the very top of the mythical list. If you want storm clouds, he'll point you toward the horizon and promise thunder. Back to the hallway that started it. The airport wasn't a publicity skit, it was a thesis. Ilia's voice carried a promise. He'd be the one to make Islam surrender, even where Islam is strongest. That kind of statement either turns into a statue or a cautionary tale. Islam didn't need a speech. His look said he'd heard that song before, and the chorus always ends the same way. That friction, belief colliding with belief, made a few seconds beside a baggage carousel feel like the first page of a much bigger chapter. Javier Mendez, who knows the temperature of big nights, added volume by admitting what most of the room already felt. This is the biggest, boldest line you can draw across Islam's whiteboard right now. Coaches don't crave risk, but they recognize inevitability. The airport didn't create a rivalry, it revealed how close the orbits already were. When neither man moves, the calendar eventually does, and the question becomes whether business will match momentum. Dricus du Plessis offered a different rhythm from the middleweight throne. No sprint to a second crown, no crash course in weight hopping, just roots first, then branches. In a sport that treats patience like a flaw, that stance feels almost rebellious. Still, even he glances north at the thunderheads. Kamzat threatens storms, contenders circle, and the air gets thin at the summit. Everyone sees the pressure systems forming and wonders who will chase lightning. The rumor mill tried to resurrect a saga of its own. Artem Lobov floated that, under perfect conditions, Conor could become the domino that tempts Khabib to revisit old business. It's dramatic, and it's unconfirmed. More campfire story than calendar entry, but it shows how this sport breathes. We chase gravity. Matt Brown, never one to sugarcoat, countered with a different lens. That the identity that once made Conor inevitable was worn down by hard nights and long layoffs. Between hype and hard truth is the place where fans usually pick a side and argue until the next headline flips the table. All of that amplifies the airport clip. Past the microphones and headlines, you've got two men who actually want risk. Ilia wants storms because storms prove something. Islam wants names because names end debates. Strip away the noise and you're left with a simple dare. One man thinks the first clean shot changes everything. The other believes the first grip ends the conversation. Their confidence doesn't feel like marketing. It feels like muscle memory and scar tissue. If the fight lands on a date soon, the story writes itself. Ilia, the finisher, who insists he can also break your will on the canvas. Islam, the technician whose patience turns panic into mistakes. Odds will flicker, angles will be parsed, and the same 4 exchanges will be slowed 1,000 times. But when the bell rings, it shrinks to one exam. Which truth holds longer, reflex or structure? Does the punch bend the plan, or does the plan swallow the punch and keep walking forward? If the matchmakers wait, the glances in hallways will keep stacking like unpaid bills. Sarukian will keep tapping his watch. Kamzat will keep tossing names onto whiteboards. Titles might change hands, or they might not, but the intersection will still be there, blinking. The sport forgets almosts. It immortalizes collisions. No one wants this to become a trivia question about the great fight that almost happened when everything felt ready. That's why Rogan's reaction resonated. He's watched eras pivot on moments smaller than an airport stare. He knows the difference between mess and meaning. The hallway didn't look chaotic, it looked inevitable. It offered a clear picture of the future people were already arguing about on their phones. Whether the call comes tomorrow or 6 months from now, both men have already agreed on the stakes without a contract. Meet me at my strength and find out if your story can breathe there. So we loop the clip and read lips and measure smirks like they're punch stats. We do it because sometimes a look is a contract signed in silence. Sometimes the lane outside baggage claim is louder than a press conference. And sometimes the fight you want most announces itself with nothing but 2 men refusing to be the first to step aside. If that sliver of hallway becomes a poster, you'll remember exactly where the countdown began. If it doesn't, the sport will chase the next spark, but it won't feel the same. Until then, the wider map keeps shifting. Islam's goals reach up a weight class. Ilia's options are glamorous, but options can become traps when the calendar starts to close. Fans will keep arguing footwork and clinched trips, counters and feints, whether Ilia's power scales if he climbs, and whether Islam's control travels if he chases. Every theory is bulletproof until the first exchange writes its own rebuttal, and then the room goes quiet again, eventually. That's the real hook here. Not outrage, not theatrics. Curiosity. What happens when a pressure cooker meets a stick of dynamite? When a man who treats chaos like a friend meets a man who treats order like a weapon? We don't need more speeches to care. We just need a date, a city, and a referee with a fast walk. The airport gave us a preview without punches. The fight would give us answers no clip can fake and no rumor can replace. Hold the image in your head. Rolling bags, a few quick words, and that tiny pause that felt like a signature written in invisible ink. Ilia's voice promised history. Islam's silence promised consequences. Somewhere between those promises is the night that tells the truth. If it comes soon, it will be because 2 champions decided the shortest path to greatness is straight through each other, and both meant every word.
Artem Lobov says Conor McGregor did not train hard for the Khabib fight, UFC 229. Artem says if Conor trained hard, he could have beat Khabib. Conor only trained 2 times per week during his fight camp leading up to one of the biggest MMA fight cards in the history. The lead up was amazing. Conor McGregor never took it seriously.
He's got the greatest 3-fight win streak in the history of the sport. He knocks out Alexander Volkanovski, Max Holloway, and then Charles Oliveira. It's the greatest 3-fight.
Holloway and Volkanovski back to back. He thinks that, hey, I can knock these guys out, but the only fight he's had at 55, he's gotten dropped by Jai Herbert. And then we've seen him get like out-muscled and out-wrestled by a couple guys at 45. I think Islam's just going to be...
That shows Strickland, all these guys, they should be afraid of us. We fight not just for us, like they do. We fight for all Muslims.
That's right. Wow.
I was here when he retired from COVID, bro. I was training with him. Like, he's just a cunt. You know, it's like, if you knew... I always say there's guys, if you knew on a personal level you wouldn't like. Chimaev is one of those people if you knew you wouldn't like. You know, he'll come in here. There's a video of me. I always like, oh, you're so good. Come is up. Understand? You're better than most. You're better than everybody. So just don't hurt people. Like, I'm being sarcastic.
93. 2. Y'all got 2. You need one more. There you go. You got 2 kids. No. You got 3 too. There's no more coming. These big. No more pieces. Thank you.
Elsewhere, Dustin Poirier's Good Fight Foundation holding its annual school backpack giveaway today. Poirier, of course, known for being a great fighter, but also for giving back to the community. A total of 1,200 backpacks filled with school supplies being given away on a first-come, first-served basis to school kids at Service Chevrolet Cadillac here in Lafayette.
Because I realize I have a platform that people are listening.
So I'm just still waiting, training, and trying to call out Ilia as much as possible.
Yeah, we've seen some of the tweets towards Ilia. They've been funny. I enjoyed the duck video that he did. What do you make of the fact that he says he would rather give up the belt than fight, that he just don't deserve it, he doesn't want it?
I mean, he feels that he's gonna lose that fight, and it's better to give the belt and then...
Sarukian is able to go in there and get the job done, but then guess what, Armin? You have made yourself a star already by some of these antics to build this fight up. And Ilia Topuria, as we know, is already a star. So he's going to continue to just be a bigger star if he's able to stop all these guys that are trolling.
Everybody and their damn mama, they want